There's a version of you that hasn't fully shown up yet. And if you're honest, you already know that. Not in some dramatic way. You can just feel it. A quiet awareness that there's more in you than that the world currently sees. You're very capable. You function at a high level. People respect you. You've built something real. And yet, there are moments where something in you holds back. You know what you want to say, and you don't say it. You know the move you want to make, and you hesitate. You know the conversation you need to have, and you delay it another week. And afterward, there's this strange frustration because you know better. You know you're capable of more than what showed up in that moment. That's the tension I want to talk to you about today because I think a lot of high performing people live there. Not completely lost, not completely fulfilled either. Successful on the outside, but privately aware that the most important version of themselves still hasn't fully shown up. And for a long time, I misunderstood what that feeling meant. I thought it meant I needed more confidence, more clarity, more preparation, more certainty. So I did what most people do. I read the books, took the courses, went to the seminars. And don't get me wrong, those things helped. But there was still something underneath it all that kept showing up in the moments where it mattered most. That's the part that confused me because it wasn't a capability problem. I knew what to do. And maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can be incredibly capable and still hesitate. You can know exactly what needs to be said and still stay quiet. And afterward, you replay the moment in your head thinking, why didn't I say that? What stopped me? That question changed a lot for me. Because eventually I stopped asking, what do I need to learn? And started asking, what keeps interrupting me in the moments that matter? That's a very different question. And I think the answer for a lot of people is conditioning. Not fear in the obvious sense, conditioning. Patterns that were installed long before you had any awareness of them. Ways of protecting yourself that became automatic. Don't say too much. Don't risk too much. Don't look foolish. Don't upset people. Don't fail publicly. And over time, these patterns became faster than logic. So fast that by the time you consciously realize what's happening, the moment has already passed. You've already stayed quiet. You've already softened the truth. You've already talked yourself out of the thing you wanted to say. And that's what makes this difficult, is that the pattern rarely feels emotional. It feels logical. That's why people miss it. It sounds like, maybe now isn't the right time. Let me think about it more. I just want to be smart here. But underneath a lot of that is protection. And I think one of the hardest parts about growth is realizing how much of yourself has been managed instead of expressed. That hits hard for a lot of people because eventually you start noticing the gap between who you are and who you're allowing the world to see. And that gap creates tension. You feel in the meetings, you feel it in the leadership, you feel it at home, you feel it in the opportunities you almost take. And eventually you realize this isn't about confidence. It's about whether you trust yourself enough to fully show up. That's a different conversation. And honestly, I think that's why so many high performers still feel stuck even after doing the work. Because skill building doesn't automatically remove conditioning. You can learn communication skills and still hesitate when the moment becomes emotionally real. You can understand leadership principles and still hold back under pressure. Because information alone doesn't interrupt identity level patterns. Awareness does. and then action. That's where transformation actually starts. Not when fear disappears, not when certainty arrives, but when you begin recognizing the pattern while it's happening. That moment, right there, when you feel something wanting to pull back, that's the moment that matters. Because that's the moment where identity shifts. Not all at once, moment by moment, decision by decision, conversation by conversation. And I think that's important because a lot of people are waiting to become someone different before they act differently. But most of the time, identity changes because you acted differently first. You spoke, you moved, you decided, even when uncomfortable. And every time you do that, you prove something to yourself. Not I'm fearless, but I no longer fear to make my decisions for me. That's authority. The authority is very different from confidence. Confidence comes and goes. Authority feels settled. It's not loud. It's not performative. It's simply the absence of internal negotiation. And I think deep down, that's what most people are actually looking for. Not hype, not motivation. Freedom from the thing inside of them that keeps interrupting who they really are. Because the truth is, I don't think most people need to become someone else. I think they need to stop hiding parts of who they already are. And maybe that's the real work, not building a new identity, removing the conditioning that's been covering the real one. So let me leave you with this. Where in your life has the most important version of you still not fully shown up yet? And what would change if you stopped waiting for permission? If this conversation is something your leadership team, organization, or group needs, I'd love to bring it to the room. Lead without waiting for permission.